Good morning. We are live today with your host, Jen Espinosa-Goswami, and my special guest today, Judy Murdoch. Welcome to the live stream, Judy.
Thanks, Jen.
I'm super excited to have you here today, Judy, because you're going to be sharing about referral marketing, which for me personally seems to have been this mysterious thing that I should have been doing sooner in my business and had no idea what to do about. Luckily, after so many years in business, referrals seem to be naturally, organically coming to me. But for those people who are struggling with referrals, you're going to kind of unveil the truth and not really secrets, because we know there's no secrets, so to speak, within referral marketing or marketing in general. But I know you have the insider viewpoint on how to get referrals on repeat. So I'm super excited to dive in with you today.
Cool.
For those of you who are watching the live stream here, just pay attention to the comments, because you can ask your comments at any question at any point of this live stream. That's the beauty of going live, is Judy and I are right here in the room with you. So make sure you type your questions, your comments, tell us what you're really enjoying, and we'll make sure to address your questions as they come in. We're going to be hanging out together for the next 30 to 35 minutes or so, because I know you got a busy day. Judy's got things to do. So do I. So we want to make sure we get to the good stuff today. But before we jump into the questions we have in terms of how to get referrals on repeat, I would really like to do a proper introduction for Judy. So let's learn more about Judy today. Judy Murdoch has spent over 30 years in marketing, working with major consumer product brands, advertising agencies, not-for-profits, and small businesses. Judy is currently founder of Marketing Root Work, a coaching practice that helps heart-centered, mission-focused service providers connect with their ideal clients in ways that actually feel good. Judy is a longtime resident of Denver, Colorado, one of my favorite places in the world. When she isn't working with clients, she enjoys drawing, hiking, and spoiling her two cats. Judy, what are your cats' names?
Oh, my cats' names are Lily and Joey, and one of them might make an appearance today.
We will see. Well, we love cat cameos, right? Let's make this a fun time to have that cat cameo going on. Which cat do you think might show up?
Oh, I think Joey, most likely. Joey's very friendly, and it's cold out here right now. So, Joey is always looking for warm places. So my lap is number one.
Oh, wonderful. Well, hopefully Joey shows up, or Lily, but if they don't show up, what about you would you like to share for those who are joining us here and have never met you? What is one thing you'd like to share that is not within your formal introduction?
Oh my goodness. Oh boy, you just totally stumped me with that. I am I am also a visual artist and a creative writer, and my favorite genre of writing is horror.
Ooh, yes. Yeah. I remember you saying that before, and I was very intrigued when we first met. You had mentioned that, and I'm like, ooh, do we have a future Stephen King in the making out here, or the female version of that, I suppose?
And perhaps, yeah.
Yes, there you go.
To be continued.
Very good. Good morning, Jessica. I'm so glad you joined us today. Make sure to ask your questions if you have them in the chat there. So glad you could make it really early in your time zone. All right, so referrals. Judy, can you kind of help us come to the same ground when it comes to referrals? What really is a referral? Let's get to the 101 level. What does a referral mean?
Thank you. I am so glad you asked this question, because I would have talked about this regardless. Okay, so referrals are when somebody who knows you, it could be a customer, it often is a customer, client, patient, recommends your service or your products to somebody who does not know about your service and products, most likely. Referrals have been, so if you think about professionals, so doctors, attorneys, financial planners, realtors, they live and die by referrals. And one of the reasons I know about referrals so much is because I came from a family of doctors. And so a lot of referral sources had a tendency to show up at dinner parties at my parents' homes. So not to mention all the, we used to get a lot of bottles of good whiskey and other treats from people who my dad had referred their services.
You know, I love that you bring that up because I feel like some industries automatically rely heavily upon referrals. Like you mentioned, doctors, financial service providers often rely upon referrals. My financial advisor will sometimes ask at the end of our meetings, who can you refer me to? I know real estate agents as well, that is kind of just built into how they do their business. And if they aren't able to be successful at referrals, unfortunately, the business kind of dries up. So
yeah.
What do you think we can learn from those who already are strong in referrals?
Okay, so just to offer a little bit of perspective, I think a lot of people listening may be familiar with what are called leads groups. So usually these are groups, they meet in person, they meet locally. More often or not, there will be a realtor, a mortgage broker, an accountant, a banker. These are all people who have a tendency, a lot of times, so let's look at realtors, for example. With a realtor, once you sell somebody a house, chances are, right, they're not going to come back to you for at least 10 years. So people like realtors kind of need that steady stream of new faces to be coming in all the time. Another thing with referrals is that if you think about it, all of these I guess industries or fields who have traditionally depended on referrals are industries where the wrong choice is very risky. So, for example, like if you think about you do not want to be sent to a doctor and not have a good outcome. And so there is just an automatic assumption on the part of the person receiving the recommendation that the person being referred or the business being referred has been vetted. So there's that sense of oh, somebody knows about this business. They know they do good work, and therefore they wouldn't recommend the business to me unless they were confident that I would have a good outcome with whoever they're referring me to. I'm going to say one more thing about referrals, which is really important, and that is this whole piece around trust and endorsement and being vouched for. So one of the things that makes referrals extremely, extremely powerful is that you have a human being who is making a referral or a recommendation, and they're kind of staking their reputation on it. Because nobody wants to make a referral or recommendation that does not work out. Even if the risk is relatively low, we don't want to send somebody to a business or to a practitioner. That person has a bad experience, right? And we feel terrible about that. So that is what makes referrals so incredibly powerful. The second point, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, is the reason referrals, again, are so powerful is nobody pays somebody to give a referral. A referral is just given purely because you have a very high probability that you're going to look really good when you give that referral and the referral works out. So those are the things that make, just the point that people will stake their reputation, how they look to their peers on an outcome from a referral. That is what makes referrals so, so incredibly powerful.
You bring up some really good points. And I think, Judy, you were mentioning in the beginning about groups that automatically kind of rely upon referrals. And I think you're referring to the BNI model of groups, networking groups, where they have people from certain industries and they're exclusive. They don't allow people more than one person from that industry. And so they rely upon referring folks within their network, which is a model that works for some people. I'm personally not a fan of BNI groups just because of it feels too business commercially for me as an introvert and as a speaker. So, but it's interesting, right, that there is a level of trust when you're referring people within your network. And that brings up another question, which is not something that I asked you in advance, but I'm curious about, because I personally rarely refer someone to a service or a business if I haven't personally used that business or service. Do you see that happening a lot, or do you see stronger risks involved if you refer people just based on you've met them at a group, you've had a conversation with them? Would you recommend referring from that, or only if you've worked with that particular business?
So one of the things I think that's really interesting about referrals is referrals are a huge component that plays into them always is it's very relational. And there is a lot of emotional intelligence that plays into it. There is a lot of judgment that plays into it. I have made referrals to people who I have not personally worked with, but I will also qualify that referral and say, I know people who have had a really good experience with this business. I myself have not used them, but I do know people who have. If possible, I might even say, if you want to get in touch with them and find out about their experience, like I can get their contact information. And I have done that with, like situations like coaches or people who are sort of in the healing realm, because I think it's important to disclose that information, just to
Yeah,
make
very
sure.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true. You want to make sure that it's clear what the nature of your relationship is with that referral partner or referral
Yes.
relationship, so people understand. Of course, you might have written a testimonial for them or given a video testimonial if you've worked with them personally, but if you haven't, just saying, I know of other people who've been very happy with this person's service is always a good way to do
Exactly.
it. Now, I know Jessica commented here, and thank you for joining us again, Jessica. She said she's asked for referrals, but has only gotten one in 5 years, which can be very
Wow.
frustrating, right? Sometimes people receive referrals, but
Yeah.
don't give referrals. Sometimes the balance feels off. So, Judy, what
Yeah.
would you recommend in terms of how and when to ask for referrals?
Oh, that's a really, really good question. Okay, so let's talk about human beings, okay, kind of how people are. One of the issues that happens, like you had mentioned your financial planner, and sometimes, or often after a meeting, they will say, hey, I'm interested in referrals. If you know somebody, please send them my way. So referrals are one of those things, like all human relationships, where we have to continually keep in touch with people. And one of the reasons that I call my business marketing root work is because I use the metaphor of the garden. I think gardening is a really good metaphor for marketing, because in a garden, right, we don't just water the flowers once and then we're like, okay, I watered the flowers, you guys are good, right? I mean, we have to constantly, every other day, depending on your weather and that type of thing, we have to be constantly watering, tending, weeding, debugging, doing all of these things we need to do to take care of those flowers and vegetables and things like that to make sure that they grow and thrive. And it is the same with human relationships. So I don't necessarily give people like a specific, like every month, every quarter, every year, whatever. But I do think anything you can do, which is why I truly am a fan of newsletters, whatever it is you do to, like, Jen, you've got a newsletter, and I usually get your newsletter like about once a week. And it's a really good newsletter, high quality, high value. And it's a nice little reminder of, oh yeah, Jen, Jen helps speakers. She nurtures and helps speakers have careers. And so I really love, so what I'm going to say is, A, you need to keep in touch regularly. B, if at all possible, when you do keep in touch, it's really nice to offer something of value, something that reminds people of who you are, what you do, what makes you special. So those are some of the things. So for the person who commented, I just want to say, yes, very, very frustrating when you ask people for referrals and you don't receive them. Very frustrating. I will say, and this is just something kind of the number one rule of marketing, is that marketing's a long game. And it takes oftentimes, like sometimes you'll hear that it's a phrase, touch points. And the touch point is every time we get in touch with somebody. And it can take a long time. So the way I would put it is, you need to keep in touch regularly. You need to remind people. If you don't want to do a newsletter, take people out for coffee, do a virtual coffee, just send them an email and say, hey, I'm thinking about you. How are you? But those things are really important. So it's a human relationship and we have to tend it.
Very true. Very true. And Judy, I do appreciate you are one of my most loyal subscribers in the sense of you almost always respond to the newsletters I send out, which feels very good as someone who's, putting a lot of time, effort, and energy into my weekly newsletters. I want to make sure people have relevant content, but also that they have something to respond to. And that's something that I teach my speaker clients as well. Like, you have to engage your audience in some level. So that is one of the ways I keep in touch. And I appreciate you always responding and engaging with my content. That makes us feel good, right? As business
Yeah.
owners, like, it's not just disappearing into the abyss. We have people on the end of that relationship who are responding. So yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned the keep in touch, because I mean, consistency is a thing, right? When you're always looking for clients, you sometimes let your referral relationships go down lower on your priority list. So keeping in touch with your referral relationships almost feels like an additional checkpoint that you have to do on top of keeping in touch with potential clients. So that can feel like an interesting balance there. And I've had other people who've reached out to me. They have a system in place for referral relationships. And by that system, I mean, there might be affiliate income involved. They might say, here's the potential benefits you could receive from this. When do you think you should start setting up or thinking about those types of things when you're building your referral network?
That's a really good question. I think the way I'm going to respond to that is I'm a big fan of keeping things as simple as possible.
Mm.
So I am only now beginning to really set up what I will call a customer relationship management system, in terms of, kind of like having a database of people's names, knowing when the last time I got in touch with them, that sort of a thing. Yeah, I'm trying to think of a good answer for that. I'm thinking it probably is going to depend on the type of business that you have, how often you actually do get in touch. So if you have, for example, a newsletter that goes out weekly, you may not need to do as much because you're already, right, you're already in this process of keeping in touch with people. I just think it depends on the number of people the number of people you need to have in your network as referral sources. And generally, I think that if you're fairly active in person, and I will say in person too, could be virtual, so it could be like a virtual networking group. I think sometimes just staying on, just like making the effort to reach out to people might be enough. Certainly, if you are one of those businesses like a realtor, you do need a system. When you have a business where you really do need a steady, consistent flow of referrals coming in.
It sounds like it kind of depends on your business model as well, right? Like you mentioned in the beginning, realtors might sell a house and not have any further business from that particular client for 10 years. So your consistency and frequency of keeping in touch and things like that might be different than someone who perhaps offers a 6-week program or a 6-month program. How often you nurture that relationship might differ just based on your relationship. Right. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't be more specific to that. It really is kind of a case-by-case thing.
Yes, I understand. Awesome. So in terms of, and this is something that I've come across as well, I was powerfully inspired to consider things like Thrivecart, where you can set up affiliate commissions and things like that, because I have a good network. I've built up my network to such a point. I've done guest speaking in other membership groups and things of that nature, where it would make sense for me to, like, I have a sense of how other people serve my potential clients. So it makes sense for me to make that referral relationship more permanent. I guess permanent is kind of the word there. What do you see as in terms of what would be a good percentage of affiliate commission once you establish that type of ongoing relationship?
That's a great question. So this is always how I address the affiliate question. So let's go back to the original point, which is that we do not pay people who give us referrals. We don't. So the way I'm going to put it is, when you pay a referral, like hundreds of dollars, they become salespeople. They are no longer, you are no longer receiving a referral. They are selling for you. The way I will articulate the affiliate piece is, an affiliate is what I think of as being kind of a sweetener. It's a lagniappe. A lagniappe is a term from New Orleans. I think it might be Cajun, but a lagniappe is something where you buy 12 donuts and the owner of the shop throws in another donut for you because you're a good customer, if that makes sense. So you're giving somebody something which is sort of like, hey man, I love you, kind of a thing. Thank you so much. This really means a lot to me. But generally speaking, they're not giving you a referral because of the affiliate fee. The affiliate fee is just something that I would do this anyway. And the affiliate fee is just a little extra love. It's something that it feels good. It's like, thank you plus. But you are not paying that person. And it can be really tricky. I know I read somewhere that if you do give somebody a substantial cash reward for sending a referral, because you're like, oh my God, this is like a huge piece of business, I'm getting referrals from them as well. Hey, like, here's, like, I wrote you a check for $500 because you've been so great. And that can backfire. You have to be really careful. Again, it's a judgment call, because then people start to feel kind of guilty and a little bit like, I sent them a referral because, it's my reputation or whatever. And I just got paid. I have this big chunk of money now. And, so like you don't want to like start bringing up dissonance for people. So as I said, again, as with all things, it's a bit of a judgment call. But in a general, to your answer to your question, Jen, affiliates, yeah, fine. In terms of percentage, the percentage to which, as I said, it feels like a, hey man, thank you plus, but it doesn't feel sort of like a, here's your commission,
Right. You're not trying to get an employee. You're just trying to sweeten the deal, as you said. I love that you said the affiliate commission is a sweetener. And
exactly.
I would love to know the spelling of the Dunlap. What was the word you used?
Lagniappe.
That
Let
was
me
so
see
cool.
if I'll put it in let's see. I think it is, I'll probably spell it incorrectly. It's something like that though.
Yeah, I love any other words that just sometimes other non-English words describe things better than English words. So whenever someone brings something new, I'm like, I want to learn more about that.
Yeah, I love the concept of the lagniappe. It feels like it's such a New Orleans thing. Mardi Gras is coming up, I think, in a couple weeks. So, I just, there's just something kind of charming about a phrase used in New Orleans.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I think it's very real, right? Because especially in the online space where I do a lot of summits and events, and those events rely upon affiliates, whether it's you bringing people into the event through, sharing your link and promoting the event, or it's through you having a low cost offer that people can then benefit from, but you also receive a certain percentage of sales of that offer. That's kind of how a lot of online communities are, like I wouldn't say it's the lifeblood of them, but it's kind of like water, right? It hydrates the process. It makes everyone happy. It brings more benefits to everyone. So I love your approach of, it shouldn't be the reason. It should be, you already love this relationship. You already love the work they're doing. You're going to do it anyway. And if you get a little bit of cut of something, that's great, but it's not going to like totally change your business. And if you're at a point where it might change your business, then having that ongoing appreciation back and forth, again, it's about that balance of you giving and getting. So referrals are a very human relationship. I appreciate that you share that because it's very real. And for my speakers out there, if you are coming across some of these online events where you have to pay a fee and then you have to bring so many people to the event and then you get 10% of whatever number of sales you do, please don't feel that you need to buy into that kind of philosophy if that's not a good fit for your business. There are plenty of speaking opportunities that do not rely upon those kinds of things. People who will pay you to be on their stage and still receive give and receive that value and still have referral opportunities. So I just want to throw that out there. That's one way of doing business, and you may have come across this in the past. It's not the only way of doing business, just like Judy
No,
is
I agree.
sharing here. There are many ways to do business.
Yeah, like one thing I do want to mention, Jen, this came up for me as you were speaking, was keep in mind one of the most powerful things you can have is to have sort of a referral network, if you will. And for people, if you've ever been in BNI, I too was in BNI. One of the things that they talked about, which I thought was like a really good learning point for me, was that there are what I would call sort of like referral networks. And a referral network, again, I'm going to use the real estate agent as an example because they're just something everybody can relate to. So real estate agents are extremely dependent on a group of other people who have different areas of specialty. So as a real estate agent, it behooves you to know at least one or two mortgage brokers, that do good work, maybe a banker. You want to know people like interior designers, painters, people who do work on homes, contractors. So as you think about it, like when it comes to selling a house, you may need to know somebody who can inspect the house to find out if they have a pest problem. So they're all like here in Denver, actually, somebody comes in and lets you know whether or not you have a radon issue. So this, to me, it's a very beautiful thing when you have kind of a network of providers who are offering things that are complementary to one another. You have kind of like this nice trusted group. So it's kind of like a loose business consortium, if you will. And I really, whenever that's possible, I really, really like that. I like when we can do that. And I think too, like what you had been talking about, humans we are relational, we are communal, we like our communities. And I think it's really beautiful when in business situations, we can, have trusted partners that we work with and we refer business to. I mean, to me, that's kind of the best of all possible worlds. It's like, like this beautiful paying it forward situation. So I'm always a fan when that is possible.
I love that you say that. And having a referral network is really important. And I think a lot of people, when they're first getting started with trying to build those relationships and their network in general, is understanding the complementary but not competing. And I know this is something I ran across when I first started my business. So I was a health coach when I first started my business. And oddly, when I was going to networking events, all these other health related people would like latch onto me, but we were competing with each other. They were offering, products and supplements or physical fitness or things like that. I'm like, we're serving the same people. Some of it is complementary, like the physical fitness aspect, because I'm not a personal trainer, but people who are selling like health supplements and things that we're supposed to do detox and all these things. I mean, that they weren't aligned with my philosophy anyway of how I support people through health coaching, but understand that it's not always good for you to find other like-minded people because you might be competing with them at some point in the future. So when it comes to people in your referral network, people who have services, who serve the same people as you, but they don't do the same thing as you. And I think that's important to call out. So when you think about your referral network, who is someone who serves the same person, but doesn't do the same thing you do? So if you're a coach, for example, someone in your referral network might be a therapist. So therapy can only take clients so far. And then maybe a coach is the next person to serve that person. Can you give some other examples of who you might include in your referral network, Judy?
Well, in my particular case, so I am a marketing coach. However, so I work with clients on things like branding, helping them set up sort of like a referral process, if you will. I will help them with branding issues, those sorts of things. At some point, however, if they need a website, if they need copy, if they need graphics, there's a whole slew of other things. That is where I'm really happy to have people I can send them to. So, I think, really, when you are a small business owner, in a way we are by ourselves, but in another way, like I know I really depend on having quality people that I can refer clients to. That's really important.
It is really important, yeah, and building those relationships within your network can only add value to the people that you serve out there. So thank you for providing those additional examples. One more thing, as a speaker, some of your referral partnerships might be event planners, videographers, speaker bureaus, places like that, because you complement each other. You're not necessarily doing the same thing. Like I've connected with other speaker coaches. If they serve like corporate people, I have people in my network I can refer you to. If you're in a corporate position, I don't necessarily help you with corporate related things with public speaking, but I know people who can. Or if you want to do a TED Talk, I don't specifically help you with TED Talks. I can, but I have people in my network who specifically focus on TED Talks. So just being cognizant of what flavor of support people might need when they reach you.
Mm-hmm.
And then how much of a resource you can be for those people is important with building those referral networks.
Right.
I do have a few more questions for you, Judy. Are you still going strong here?
I'm fine. Go for it. This is great.
Awesome. Well, one of the things that feels super awkward as someone who doesn't like to ask for help, and maybe Jessica, Jen, and some other folks on the stream can agree with me. What is the best way to make it less stressful to ask for referrals and or, reach out to your network?
Yes. I get that. And I'm an introvert as well. And so I too feel kind of awkward asking people for referrals. Okay, so let's talk about different situations. One situation, the easiest by far, is when you are engaging with a client or a past client, could be having coffee, it could be after you've had a session, whatever it happens to be. And the client makes a comment to you like, I am so appreciative, I so appreciate, your work and the work we're doing together. I got a speaking engagement last week. It went incredibly well. Thanks to you, like there were things that I would not have known to do without having worked with you, and just want you to know how much that means to me. This is a perfect time for you to say, I'm so glad that you said that. That makes me feel so good. And, I have a couple openings currently in my practice. And if you know people who you think would be good clients, please, send them my way. And, do you want some cards? Do you need contact information? So that to me is a very gracious, way to ask for a referral when you are talking to a current client, past client. Let's talk about then somebody who is not a client, but they are I'll say they're a collaborator or a potential collaborator, somebody through your business, right? Like you and I, right? Something like that. And, like anytime you are doing what I will call a kind of like, how are you doing, right? Kind of thing where you're chatting, having coffee, whatever you're doing. And it's in my opinion, it is perfectly okay to say something like, hey, I am starting a new one-on-one, coaching program. I currently have 5 positions that I'm looking to fill. And, do you know people? Do you know somebody who you think might be a good fit? You might ask me questions like, tell me more about the program. Like, what kinds of people are you looking for? But that to me is a very appropriate, an appropriate way, and I think a fairly gracious way to bring up that you're looking for referrals. And after the person says, sure, I'd be happy to help you. For those of us who hate to ask for things, you can then say, then what can I help you do? How can I help you? What are you up to these days? So I guess I am always, I'm very oriented towards win-wins. I'm always looking for how can we help each other? And, by helping each other, both of us are able to grow and move forward. So that's sort of my way of thinking about it. I also have kind of a mindset, I guess, which really helps me in terms of, rather than thinking about it as sort of like it's a business transaction, if I think about it from the perspective of this is somebody I know and I admire and respect. I really like them. I would really like to help them. And I'm going to assume they feel the same way about me. And I think if you can when I can come from that perspective of, like, again, I'm looking for a win-win, with the other person, that helps me. That's a perspective that helps me feel better about the asking. But, like, the fact is that when we are business owners, we have to ask for stuff. I mean, we just do. It comes with the territory. Uncomfortable, but, like, yes. And that's the other thing too, is have support. Have people who love and support you, so that you can, like, after a call, if it doesn't feel like it went very well, you can call a friend or call a coach or call somebody and say, oh man, that just went so badly. And I really screwed things up. And, they can say, like, oh no, it doesn't sound that bad. Or, as far as I'm concerned, anytime we put ourselves out there in a way that feels uncomfortable, that's a win, regardless of, the results. And it's a win to be celebrated.
Oh, I totally agree with you, Judy. I'm all about celebrating those milestones. And for some of us, those milestones are asking for support, asking for help,
Yeah.
putting yourself out there vulnerably, bravely, whatever word choice you want to use around that. As an entrepreneur, it's kind of par for the course. You have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, and that's just part of the nature of the work. But one of the things as well that I've noticed in some of my relationships that has been very helpful for me to refer people to is after I've had a connection with someone, if they have some sort of flyer or written representation of what we talked about, that helps me to store in my, my folder, so that if I'm having a conversation 6 months later with somebody, I'm like, oh yeah, this person has a course or
Yes.
has an offer that helps that
Yeah.
person. So if you don't have some sort of flyer, marketing material, something, even a Google Doc, friends, that shares more about your program, shares more about upcoming dates, things like
Yes.
that, because sometimes we're not in the middle of a conversation with someone who asked how they can support you. So making it
Yes.
easy for other folks to know what you're doing and how you're doing it will make those referral relationships smoother. And I appreciate it because I'm a visual person. So if we have a conversation, I'm probably going to forget it 2 days later. So please send me something visual so I can forward it along to people who may be interested in the work you do.
I am a huge fan of tangible reminders, huge fan. So, and I actually do. I'm often thinking about, like the promotion companies that like produce swag, right? And they have your
Yes.
business and stuff like that on it. And I always love to think about, like, what would be like a really cool, piece of merch you could give somebody with your business name and that sort of thing on it. For whatever reason, I drink a lot of coffee, so I'm a big mug fan. So feel free to send me a mug with your business name on it. But yeah, no, I totally agree, Jen. And even a business card. I told somebody recently, like, give people a tangible business card, have a QR code on the back, whatever you want to do. But, like, yes, big yay for tangible.
I love that you mentioned merch and swag and things like that too, because who doesn't love snail mail, right? If you suddenly get a mysterious package in the mail and you're like, what is this? This is such a delightful thing. Surprise and delight, that's always, oh, that's so amazing to receive that. And it's not a bill, so that's even better. All right. So if you're joining us and you have enjoyed this conversation with Judy and I, please make sure to connect with us via LinkedIn or any profile that you see below this video. If you're watching the replay and you have a question, feel free to post your questions below this video and one of us will get to you. Tag us if you have specific questions around referrals, because we want to make sure you get amazing value from this. Now, I know Judy has a special gift for you. We're going to get to that in just a moment, but I have to ask a question around referral speaking opportunities, because I work with speakers, and the best thing you could do as a speaker is exit the stage to have stage side referrals of 2 or 3 other places to bring your message to. So what would you say to speakers, Judy, who are looking for those stage side referrals? Like, how can you increase your opportunity for referrals from speaking?
Okay, so one of the things I used to do more speaking a few years ago, and I really enjoyed speaking. Marketing is a really fun topic to talk about to audiences. So I did a couple things. I always had business card, QR code on the back. And also what I would do is I would create these small flyers. So kind of like an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. You cut it into quarters, and you can print something on it. Like what I did was I offered strategy sessions for people. So it did double duty. It allowed me to oftentimes schedule opportunities with people who wanted marketing coaching. And that was what I was interested in. But I also could do things like, what topics do you want to talk about? What topics are you interested in hearing from me? The last piece I want to say here is that one of the best things I ever heard from somebody about speaking opportunities in general is that nobody who is a program director, program manager, anybody who's responsible for bringing speakers, entertainment to a group event, nobody ever wants to be responsible for a bad speaker. Everybody right? That's the looking good piece. Everybody wants to feel that, like, I brought a star in for my people. And so I think, anything you can do to sort of reinforce this idea of, if you bring me in as your speaker, like, obviously we can't guarantee things, but chances are very, very good that your audience will have a really good experience, and they will come to you and say, oh man, that was such a good speaker. Like, wow, so that's something to think about too, is these people who are organizing, looking for speakers, they want to have good speakers. They want their people to have a good experience. So something to keep in mind with the looking good thing.
Yeah, I kind of put words in your mouth with that. I'm just typing some comments and summarizing what you're sharing in the chat here. But it's true. Like, of course, you want to deliver amazing value as a speaker and make the host look good. But I love that you offer as well. Do you have some way, and I call this continuing the conversation. Do you have some way to continue the conversation with your audience and your host too? So don't leave your host just because the host has welcome you to their stage, giving you the check, whatever the case may be. It doesn't mean that you stop the conversation with the host after that. In fact, a lot of referral speaking happens from continuing that to nurture that relationship as well. But yeah, making it easy, QR codes, strategy sessions, ways to connect, and further ways to deepen and nurture that relationship are always going to benefit you. Now, Judy, I'm super excited because you have something special that you want to offer folks today. So I'm going to leave you to share with us what you're offering.
Okay. So I have created a go at your own pace course. It's called, it's called, I think, referral marketing for your heart-centered business. The course covers 6 keys that I think are really important to put into place in order to have those referrals on repeat, so that you do have that consistent flow of highly qualified referrals, really good people showing up in your inbox or your DM. So the course is $60, but I am gifting it to anybody in your audience who wants to get it. Do you want me to go ahead and read the URL for people?
I'm going to post the link in the chat here, but if there's any coupon code or anything they need to discount it from that $60, just let us know if there's any code or anything we need for that.
Yeah, for sure. So the code is COMP, C-O-M-P. I don't think it's case sensitive, but if in doubt, all caps, and that'll get you it for free.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited to learn more about this course, Judy, because, we've had a number of interactions and conversations.
Yeah.
I know you know your stuff. I know you're out there doing, walking the walk and talking the talk. And I mean, this course is worth $60, folks. So, if you are struggling with referrals on repeat and you're not quite sure where in the process you're maybe missing the mark, this could provide some insights to you. And, go and grab that. If you have any issues with the coupon code, definitely reach out to Judy or let me know, and we're happy to assist you on the back end of that. But who doesn't want more referrals, right? I know I could use more referrals. I would love to receive referrals. I'm sure you are in the same case where you're like, I'm building my network. I'd love to have these relationships, that referral network, those partnerships. So if this is something of interest to you, definitely reach out to Judy. She's got you covered. And definitely check her out on Substack as well. Judy writes wonderful newsletters on Substack, and would be happy to connect with you. Anything else you'd like to share today, Judy?
Yeah, I do actually, Jen. So here's the way I'm going to articulate it, that most of you listening probably have devoted fans, right? You have people who have worked with you, who love and adore you, who, they genuinely want to see you and your business thrive. And as I said before, people really like to give referrals. It feels really, really good. If you are not getting referrals from your devoted fans, there probably are some things that you can do to let them know, like yes, I do want referrals. And these are sort of like the ideal people that you could send to me. So basically, you're not asking people to do something they don't want to do. You're asking people to do something like they really want to do it. They want to support you. And your job is just to make it a little easier for them. So I just want to leave people with that like, no, no, make it easy for your devoted fans to send you referrals because they want to, and it'll make them feel good too.
Awesome. I love the way you approach everything you do, Judy, especially referrals, because we are human beings and we do want to connect and support each other. So I appreciate you coming here and sharing more with my audience. If you're watching the replay, again, post your questions below. We can still respond to your questions or connect directly with Judy. Is there another best way for people to connect with you, Judy?
They can email me at judy@judymurdoch.com. And my Substack is actually my name. So if you go to Substack and you do a search on judymurdoch.com, you will find my Substack. And yes, I do encourage you to come to my Substack, subscribe. I really enjoy doing the newsletter. I love engaging with people who ask me questions. One of my favorite things.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here with us, Judy.
Yeah,
I don't offer live streams too often, but I'm so glad you were part of 2025's live streams. And I hope also to do future interviews in the coming months. Who knows when that's going to happen, but it's been a pleasure connecting with you. And thank you everyone for joining us today.